بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello there, hope you're fine, inshallah rabbil alameen. Today, inshallah, we're going to talk about something very important, which is what do you expect when you become a student with us. So let's check this infograph together. We assuming at the beginning you need to recite Quran properly, accurately, as Prophet Muhammad ﷺ does. And this is our message. But before that, we need to make sure that you know you are familiar with some certain basics first. So let's check the first infograph, which is in our website. You can open it from blog and then go to this, what do you call it, infograph. What will you study when you become a student with us? And this is Nouraniah plan. Nouraniah is something we call here in Egypt Qira'iyya. Okay, so it's very essential, and we call the students that study Nouraniah, they are in level 0. Whether you aim to recite Quran or even to study Arabic, your first level will be always here. So in Nouraniah what we teach is, and let me open also the book. Here you go. This is the book that we use in our classes, in most of our classes, and this book will take you starting from scratch all the way until you become fluent in reading Arabic and also in reciting Quran. This book divided two parts. One is Nouraniah, the second is Tajweed rules. And let's talk about this with some details. At the beginning of the trial class, we do like assessment. We need to know where are you exactly, because you might have some lessons before, so you don't want to start from scratch, but you still have some troubles to fix. Makharij and exit letters, you're not using them properly, so that you need some practice and you need some ideas to improve yourself. In the assessment class, we will know that where are you exactly. So we take you from Surah Al-Fatiha, are you reciting it right or wrong, and then we go from the alphabet and then harakat. We need to make sure that you know the gum letters, or the attributes of some letters, and the harakat. And then, do you know mad, what is extension and when you do it? Are you familiar with something called tanween, sukun, qalqala, shudda, gunna, all these vocabulary and what does it mean? Some students also, they are already in Islamic school and they're doing their own work out there, whether it's recitation or memorization for a certain surah, and they come to us so that we help them to improve their recitation or get them to memorize in our classes, because their parents might be busy, so it's better to do with a native teacher. Also, you might be in weekends school. You are fortunate to be near to a local institute or masjid where you go in weekends so that you have Arabic classes and Quran classes, meet your friends. Personally, I always recommend to go there. Our online classes, aside with the weekend classes in your local masjid, it will give you the opportunity to have a Muslim community, Muslim friends, and that is something we are all in need, along with a good recitation, a proper pronunciation for the Quran, and also the insights about the story of this surah or the meaning of that verse, etc. So now let's see what we have here. I'm assuming here we have a student starts from scratch, okay? So at the beginning he needs to know the alphabet. Two things on the alphabet. Number one is, where is this letter came from? We will test this together in the class. Number two, how is this letter sounds like? Is there an equivalent to this letter in English? Number two, we will teach the most important attributes for the alphabet. And here I always prefer if the student has a notebook where he can take the most important points in his lesson. But anyway, we are sending pictures, we're sending sometimes our classes record through Google Drive, and that also helps a lot. The third lesson is something we call it selfish letters. What is selfish letters? It's actually talking about the shape of alphabet at the beginning of a word, or at the middle, or at the end. Next, this is very simple and easy lesson, which is the movement, the harakat. Once you get the idea of movement, it becomes very simple of how to pronounce it, what part of your mouth is responsible to do the harakat, and what is the meaning of fatha, dhamma and kasra. Once you get this idea, it's completely simple. Then the extension, which is including mad and lin. After that, the tanween, we're teaching only the shape of tanween and the sound of tanween. The other thing, which is called noon sakin and tanween rules, it's not included here. Next is what? Next is sukun, how to conceal the letter practically and theoretically. And after that, we go to qalqala. After qalqala, we go to shadda. And shadda, what does it mean? What is the symbol? How to apply it? All that. With shadda, we teach gunna. Now we have a very important point, which is what? After you finishing all these lessons with one of our teachers, you will have an assessment class to test you in your previous classes and to see, did you understand it? Can you say it practically? Can you actually practice it? Can you explain it sometimes? If you heard someone does mistakes, how can you fix it? Can you fix your own mistakes as well? This is very important matter. When we finish this assessment class, you will have a record for this class along with a certificate from our platform, which is something approved in English and American schools. Some schools asked us for a word or certificate for a common students, and we delivered it, and it's alhamdulillah approved. So that is something very important for you to have as well. Okay, then what's after you finish Nouraniah plan? Here I would like to refer to something very important, which is what? Your classes will be divided two parts all the time. One for tajweed, Nouraniah, learning rules and so on. Two, which is practice Quran practically, to apply the rules that you've just learned and to revise the rules that you've learned before as well. So let's go to second part of our book, which is tajweed plan. Now you become intermediate student, and here you will learn some important things. As a Quran reciter, you cannot be ignorant for these rules. You should know it. It is something essential for you to know. The first thing is the heaviness and the lightness. Again, some attributes, characteristics of some certain letters, but we will learn them more deeply. Second lesson, which is quite tricky lesson, it's called Hamzat al-Wasl. After that is the Lam Shamsiyah. Every time you see lam of al, al-shams, al-qamar, al-rahman, al-rahim, this is Hamzat al-Wasl and the lam. After that, how to stop at the end of the words. Some students asked me before, the dal, qul huwallahu ahadun, it has tanween. Why I'm saying ahad? This answer is in this lesson. Next is noon sakin and tanween. This is the lesson, very famous, very common lesson. I believe everyone have at least some knowledge of this lesson. Next is mim sakina, very similar lesson to noon sakin and tanween except for the letters. Next is the mad, and here we will teach all things about mad types, the extensions, how long, when you should do it, and all that. And the last lesson, which is very important lesson, the two meeting letters. And here with the two meeting letters, al-harfan al-mutaqabilan, you will be done with our book and you will have a word of your work after the assessment class as well. Okay, now I mentioned something before, which is your classes will be divided two parts. One with Nouraniah or Tajweed, this is first part. Second part, which is Quran or memorization, depends on your need. Here, by the way, a word will be published here in our website and you will have the link, so it will be something saved all the time for you. Okay, what is it in reading or memorization? Let's go to memorization first, because a lot of people asking for memorization classes. And what is it we do in the memorization classes? We expecting the class to be running in that way. Number one, you will deliver the new verses. Number two, you will revise the fresh revision, something we call the fresh revision, which is the last surah you have just accomplished before the present one. And then the old revision, and that depends on how much you accomplished so far. The last part, read the new verses that you're gonna do next class. Most of memorization classes are running on that way. Okay, now what is it I'm memorizing? We have a certain plan for this. At the beginning, we go to memorizing Juz' Amma, okay, surah by surah, starting from down, not from up, starting from the last and the shortest surah, like Surah Al-Nas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq, and we go all the way up. After you finishing Juz' Amma, you will be having an assessment class again to make sure you've done it and you've nailed it. If you passed the assessment class, next is to memorize Surah Tabarak. It is only Surah Tabarak, not the entire juz. Surah Tabarak, because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentioned in many occasions this surah is pretty important. One of the benefits that if you recite it on a night before you go to bed, it is mentioned this surah is protecting you from anything might hurt. Yani Prophet Muhammad ﷺ never left to recite Surah Tabarak every single night. After Surah Tabarak, again you will have an assessment class along with the certificate, and after that you will go to Surah Al-Baqarah, but not memorizing all of it. At the beginning you will memorize 3 positions in Surah Al-Baqarah. The first 5 verses, Ayat Al-Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum, the last 2 ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. After this, again you will have an assessment class along with the certificate if you passed this class. And don't worry, we will make the questions very simple, very easy, so nothing to get nervous for. Next is Surah Al-Kahf, not all of it, the first 10 verses and the last 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. And after that, you will start to memorize Surah Yasin, all of it, and Surah Al-Rahman, all of it. After this, if you felt like you are ready to memorize the whole Quran, that will be a very good decision to make. But these certain places and surahs that we believe something essential for any Muslim to have, because every surah and every ayah here is something you will be very in need for all of them in your life as a Muslim. We mentioned here that we will have a test and assessment class after each stage along with the certificate that will be uploaded here in our website. And if you started your memorization, we believe one day you will be ready for ijazah, inshallah rabbil alamin. And that was all about memorization classes. Next is reading classes. In reading class, which is very common classes, a lot of students come to do a Khatmah. At the beginning of the reading classes, we always reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for blessing and also to make it more accurate. And the reading classes, it goes like the teacher recite an ayah and the student repeat after him. And that is again something relate to the students. If he were advanced student already, he won't need this particular way. He would rather love to go and recite the Quran, and the teacher just will fix if there is any mistakes or discuss with him a certain tajweed rules here or there, depends in his recitation. But again, let's talk about a student that starts from scratch. So the first part, as we mentioned, we will take Nouraniah or tajweed program. And number 2, we're doing a reading. So in this stage, it is very essential that we go in Juz Amma, and the teacher will read ayah and the student will repeat after him ayah by ayah. After we finish a certain surahs or 1/4 of Quran or half juz, half part, then depends on the teacher's opinion as well. The student can take this ruba or these certain surahs to recite it by himself and the teacher fixed him. But this is gonna be a few surahs as a practice for what's coming up. Assuming here we're doing Surah Al-Baqarah, then the teacher will need to recite the first ruba ayah by ayah, and the student will repeat after him. After finishing the first ruba, the first quarter of Surah Al-Baqarah, the student will recite it by himself. And that is today's class. Next class will do the same until the teacher felt like the student has improved and now we can do 2 ruba. So we will recite these 2 ruba. My turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And then next class you will listen to these 2 ruba, these 2 quarters, and then in next class you will deliver them. And today we'll do the same thing over and over and over again. How about the order? Shall we start right away from Surah Al-Baqarah? No. We will start from Juz Amma. Okay, but remember I mentioned Surah Al-Fatiha at the beginning of each class, and then we'll go to Juz Amma. We will do it teacher to student, ayah by ayah, verse by verse, and when we finish Juz Amma, the student will need to recite Juz Amma, all of it by his own, and the teacher will be just fixing his mistakes or discussing some tajweed rules. And then after we're done with Juz Amma part 30, we will go to start from Surah Al-Baqarah all the way down. This is the order of reading classes. As long as we here already in our website, I want to refer to that you can click here and contact and register, you can deliver us your name, your age, and all these informations so that you can book your classes from here right away. And after that, we will provide you username and password so that you can enter our system to follow up your classes and to track your development week after week, class after class, as we mentioned how to do this in another videos. That would be all for today. جزاكم الله خيرا, بارك الله فيكم, and السلام عليكم.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين